Hello, everyone. My name is Hamina Aguilar, and today I'm going to be going over some smart swine feeding and management tips. So, feeding pigs the right way is really important for their health, their growth, and their overall well being. And by making sure we have good management practices, it helps support the swine overall and our production of what we want to do with these pigs. I'll also be sharing simple practical tips that make caring for the pigs easier and more enjoyable for either a first time pig owner or someone who's very experienced in this field. So, I just wanted to briefly point out some of the slide topics I'm going to be going over. So, I'm going to be talking about why proper feeding matters, why pigs need certain nutrients, also certain feeding stages of swine, and feeder pig management tips. All right. So let's hop in first to why proper feeding matters. So, I want to go over the basics of why we need to make sure we are feeding our pigs correctly and what the benefits of proper nutrition look like for swine. Pigs rely completely on their feed for energy, for growth, and their overall health. So, when pigs get a balanced diet, it helps support their steady growth, it helps them develop strong and nice muscles, and helps them have a healthy body condition score. Proper nutrition also plays a huge role in their immune system, and well fed pigs are also better off at fighting illnesses and recovering faster from stress or environmental changes. So, this stress can look like maybe they're having stress with their pig mates, they're not getting along, they're fighting. Environmental changes, they're very temperamental and they can get very sick. Hot and cold, you have to really, really watch them. So, making sure you have your pig on a really good diet, on a really good healthy ration, this helps them be able to recover from things like that. Feeding changes and feeding correctly also improves feed efficiency. So, this means that the pigs use the nutrients better and you waste less feed. This is really important for both animal health and the cost of the feed. Another reason, feeding matters is their behavior. Pigs are very temperamental. I don't know if any of you have owned a pig, but pigs are so temperamental. I raised pigs in FFA and 4-H. I've raised them for over the last 6 years of my life, and they are very, very temperamental animals that have a wild personality, and their behavior factors in a lot to how they're being fed. So, when pigs are fed consistently and get the right nutrients, they are calmer and they're easier to manage. So, poor diets, if we're looking at a poor diet scale, this can lead poor diets or irregular feeding could lead to stress or competition if they have pig mates, as well as even aggression in the pen. They can be show signs of aggression towards you, maybe to the other pigs, or just aggression overall. And finally, proper feeding helps prevent nutrition related issues like weak bones, slow growth, or digestive problems. So, overall, good nutrition is the foundation for healthy, productive, and well managed pigs. All right, let's go over a pig nutrients guide I made. So, we're going to go over the very essential things that pigs need in their rations and their diets every single day. So, pigs need a variety of nutrients in their diet to function and grow well. According to West Feed's guide on basic swine nutrition, first and most importantly, water must always be clean and available. Always, always, always. A pig without enough water can't digest its feed properly, move nutrients through its body, or regulate its temperature. So I showed a little picture of these. These look like grower or wean piglets, and they're drinking out of nipple drinkers. So, a lot of people in the swine industry are very common to them and know what they are. But if you don't know what they are, nipple drinkers are automatic waterers that have a spigot that the pig can put its tongue on and they suck the water out. Um, Pigs do not drink out of water troughs or bowls or anything like that that most livestock typically drink out of. So I just wanted to show pictures so that way you can get a visual representation of what these pigs look like when they're consuming their proper water intake. Another topic I wanted to hit on was fats and carbohydrates in these pigs' rations. So Fats and carbohydrates go together. They provide the pig's primary source of energy. Carbohydrates from grains like corn give quick energy, while fats provide denser, long term energy. Together, they fuel a pig's daily activity, growth, and bodily functions. So, I wanted to show you a common feed that is often implemented into a pig's ration, which are oats. They are both packed with fats and carbohydrates. And I just wanted to show that in the top right corner of my slide so you can get a visual representation of what this looks like. All right, so now I want to go over the minerals. So, on the mineral side, calcium and phosphorus are essential for strong bones and strong teeth. These are the main essential but very common ones that you might hear of animals needing in their diet. Pigs also need trace minerals, and while these are smaller, they're very important. And you need to have amounts of salt, zinc, copper, iron, and manganese in their diet. These support everything from blood health to enzyme function to growth. These are all very, very essential minerals that need to factor into one another in order to provide your pig with that healthy, nutritious ration. And I provided a picture of a common caldo pig, which is a calcium shot. You can put it in their food. It's a supplement. I mean, you can find plenty of these different mineral supplements that you can give your pigs, and some of them even have all of the things I just listed in the ration. But this is 10 to 20 milliliters daily for about a grower or a starter pig, and then 20 to 50 milliliters daily when your pig is about at market weight hog um, length. So now I want to cover crude protein. So crude protein is another cornerstone of the diet. So it builds muscle and tissue and helps support the growth of fetuses and pregnant sows and maintains overall health. This is the building block of protein, amino acids, which are absolutely critical for the proper development of your pig. And I just implemented a picture that I used when I was showing and raising pigs. This is show right, and this is a really, really packed crude protein. It provides all of these fats, minerals, crude protein, vitamin, water in their feed, and it's really, really awesome. I've never had any problems using this feed, and this is a feed I recommend that has really good, nutritious crude protein, but it's not overdoing it. And lastly, we're going to go over into vitamins. A lot of people are familiar with vitamins. We take them, a lot of livestock have to take them. So, vitamins are needed for many psychological processes. So, vitamin A supports vision and immune function. Vitamin D works with calcium for bone health. Vitamin E helps protect cells, and vitamin B12 plays a role in blood formation and nerve function. So, without a good balance of vitamins, pigs wouldn't be able to use the other nutrients properly, which can negatively affect the growth and well being of the pig in general. So, I also included a bottle that a lot of vets use. It's called Vet One, and it is medicine that you obviously inject a syringe in and then you inject it into the pig. And it's a vitamin B12 supplement that I have actually had to use on my pigs when they were little as well. All right, let's go into the feeding stages of swine. So, one thing that you need to keep in mind is you're not consistently feeding the pig the same amount or the same ration or the same amount of crude protein or amount of vitamins or minerals or all those other things. You are not feeding that pig consistently the same thing because they're growing. So they need more as they grow. So diets change as pigs grow. I want you to keep that in mind. So, according to the Pork Chekhov's life cycle of a market pig, pigs go through different feeding stages as they grow, and each stage has unique nutritional needs to support health and proper development. All right, so we're going to go into the first stage. The first stage is the wean piglet phase, which occurs right after pigs are separated from the sow. They're usually around 21 days to 3 weeks of age. During this time, piglets are adjusting from milk to solid feed, and their intake is relatively small. These are baby pigs, and while they are growing, they're not eating as much as a finisher or a grower pig is. So their intake is a little bit smaller. Um, it's probably their least intake, I would say, when they're younger. And so, however, they need high digestible nutrients dense feed to support their still developing digestive system and immune function. So, even though they may not be taking in as much as a grower or finisher pig might be, because they're babies, they still very much need more nutrients, more digestible feed, more dense feed to help support them in their growing process. And by the end of this phase, most piglets weigh about 13 to 15 pounds. That's typically the weight range that we have them at around that stage. All right, let's go into the starter. So, next is the starter or the nursery phase. So, this roughly lasts around 42 to 56 days or 6 to 8 weeks. And piglets are moved to a nursery barn with controlled temperature and ventilation to help them adjust to their new environment. Their diet typically consists of corn and soybean meal, and they gradually increase their intake from around 1.4 pounds up to 4 pounds per day. So by the end of this phase, the nursery pigs usually weigh between 50 and 60 pounds. That's a healthy pig that we want to see in that range, and that will give the okay to move them into the grower or the finisher barn. Um, and I implemented a picture here to just kind of show again of what these pigs look like at these stages because um, they're still itty, they're still little, but they're not that little compared to the farrowing and weaning stage. All right, and the last stage that I want to go over is the grower and finisher phase, which spans from about 45 pounds up to market weight. So it can go from 45 to 60 pounds up to 280 pounds is our target goal of where we want them to be. During this stage, pigs eat significantly more feed, usually 6 to 10 pounds per day, and their diet continues to include corn, soybean meal, vitamins, and minerals to help support their growth. Um, they're very high demand during these stages, and especially if they're going off to slaughter or to market to be shown to be slaughtered, we want them to be in that range to ideally sell well and for them to be overall healthy. By 6 months of age, they generally reach around 280 pounds and they are ready for market. So this can be anywhere from 16 to 17 weeks. And this is when we really, really want to monitor their health and their growth and make sure that they're getting everything that they properly need for them to be off and slaughtered. So that way they're ready. Now, I want to take a look at this chart. This chart was adapted from Purdue University's concepts of pig growth and composition, and it shows how diets change across the nursery, the grower stages, and the finisher stages, and it lists crude protein, lysine, and added fat for each phase. So, in the nursery, protein starts high over 22% because young pigs need more protein to build muscles and support rapid early growth. So, lysine is also an essential amino acid, and this is very crucial as well because it helps them build that muscle development, that amino acid muscle development that we want to see in those pigs. Um, it also starts high and gradually decreases in the later stages because they won't need it as crucial as they do when they're growing. Um, Fat added to the feed slightly increases over time to provide more energy as pigs grow bigger and more active. So, as pigs move into the grower and finisher stages, protein decreases while energy from fat remains high. This is because we want to make sure they're packed with fat, make sure that, they still have a good body condition, but we're not overfeeding them protein. So we really take that in account when we're pushing them out for weight. And this makes sense because older pigs are focusing more on weight gain than building new muscle, so they need more calories to grow efficiently. It's also important to note that this chart doesn't cover the weaned piglet stage because feed intake is very low and variable at first, so we don't really Take that into account. In some charts we do, but mainly in this graph that I showed that really breaks it down, we don't include it. Since most nutrition charts start at the nursery phase when pigs begin eating more constantly and their nutrient requirements can be accurately measured. So overall, this chart helps us understand how protein, lysine, and energy levels are adjusted for each stage of growth. And by following these feeding guidelines, we can ensure pigs grow efficiently, stay healthy, and reach market weight at the right time, which is very important. All right, so now I'm going to bring you to our last slide, which is feeder pig management tips. So, this is for making sure you're keeping your pigs healthy and making sure you're keeping them happy. So, on this slide, we're going to be looking at some practical feeding and management tips for feeder pigs based on guidance from Oklahoma State University's Extension fact sheet on buying and managing feeder pigs. First, I want to point out the seasonal changes. So, first in the winter, you need to make sure your pens are draft free, temperature controlled, and have plenty of clean bedding. This is essential because we want to make sure our pigs are being kept away from any wind, any drafts, because they can catch various diseases and get very sick very easily. Their temperature is very, very easy to off balance. So you really, really want to make sure that you are in the winter providing that draft free, temperature controlled, and plenty of bedding to make sure they are comfortable and warm. Um, this also goes into the fact that by keeping these pigs warm and comfortable, it helps reduce the risk of stress and the risk of illness. So, now let's move into the summer. So, in the summer, pigs are also very temperamental. So, their bodies goes through many, many changes and stress. They do not like being hot. They really, really don't. So, we want to make sure that in the summer we provide shade, misters, and clean pens to prevent heat stress and maintain feed intake because just like I feel like I can in the summer, pigs eat less when they are too hot. So, you need to really, really make sure that you are taking care of those pigs in the summer and really prioritizing their water intake, misters to keep them cool, and making sure they have shade, most importantly. It's also important to note that you need to separate pigs into weight categories. So, by separating them into categories, this ensures that smaller pigs aren't being pushed away from feed or water by larger pigs. It also makes sure that all pigs are getting the proper nutrition that they need to grow properly. They also in feeder systems, you also need to make sure that there are at least 2 automatic waters with nipple drinkers per pen. So, again, back to my nutrients guide, you need to make sure that you are providing constant access to clean water because, again, this is essential for digestion, nutrients, absorption, and overall health. And now we're going to go into the how we want to feed our pigs. So you're going to want to feed your pigs a balanced ration according to their weight group. That is very, very important and very, very specific to whatever stage they're at. Providing the right amount of proteins, energy, vitamins, and minerals ensures proper growth, supports muscle development, and helps pigs maintain good health throughout the feeding stages. We want to make sure to feed our pigs twice a day at the same time because consistent feeding helps them get into a routine and helps them regulate their appetite, reduce stress, and prevent digestive issues. So, this is very, very important that I've had firsthand of when I've missed feedings or if I didn't feed them at the same time, they were very stressed because we are their caretakers and we're supposed to feed them at times. They're extremely smart. So if you don't feed them right when they know they need to be fed, they will be very upset and very angry. And that might cause some sort of appetite or increased or reduced appetite intake there. And then I want to go over some for health management. So, you need to give your pigs a high level of antibiotics during the first week up to 28 days and follow a regular schedule for worming and insecticide treatment. So, these practices protect pigs from common diseases and parasites. You really want to prevent this. And by preventing this, you're supporting their immune system, preventing growth setbacks, and ensuring overall well being. So, you really want to set up your pigs for success and health in these stages. So, by following these tips, you help maintain healthy, stress free pigs that grow efficiently and are better able to reach market weight successfully. So, proper management like this is key not only for growth, but also for animal welfare and long term profitability. In the end, effective swine feeding and management come down to consistency, balanced nutrition, and proper care. So, when we meet pigs' needs at every stage, we support their well being, improve performance, and create a more successful feeding program. So, thank you so much for joining me as we explored what it really takes to raise healthy, well managed pigs.